This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
When Michael Neal set up his optometry practice in rural Pennsylvania, he was focused on his patients, even as a problem was festering out of sight. The problem is one that many small businesses of all types face: employee turnover, especially in entry-level jobs. Finally, though, something had to be done. Today, while still seeing patients, the doctor is busy running a new business that he says helps small businesses with staffing through the use of psychometrics. Michael Neal talks about his solution in this episode of Bizgnus Interviews. Well, it seems that anybody would just love to be working in the optometrist's office, but you found exactly the opposite, apparently. Tell us what the problem was that prompted everything that has fallen in place since.
Yeah, the problem was simply that we were hiring the wrong type of people. And we were hiring for, using resumes. We were hiring based upon what folks were telling us they were good at. And we were hiring folks to kind of help them. We weren't doing, as any part of the process, was finding A players, absolutely terrific team members. We weren't hiring those. And that was the core of the problem. And let me tell you, Douglas, it was horrible, absolutely horrible.
We have heard much the same thing for years from business owners and CEOs, that it's almost impossible, they say, to find the right talent. Are your goals too high or what?
Well, our goals weren't too high. We were just going about it the wrong way. And so back in 2016, I started taking a look at how other companies were doing it. Douglas, I was thinking, well, we're no good at this here. There has to be a better way. What's the better way? And so I took a look at outstanding customer service companies like the Four Seasons, Disney. Those are companies that just provide absolutely top-notch service, and worked on kind of reverse engineering their hiring process. How the heck do they do it? Trying to get an answer to that. How can they so consistently find amazing top level talent that will provide such an incredible experience for their customers? Because that's what we were looking for in healthcare as well. In our practice,
they were in industries totally different from what you're doing.
No, I would disagree. I would disagree with that. What the Four Seasons is in the hospitality industry. They're in the guest experience industry. They want people to have an absolutely unbelievably great experience in their properties. Same thing goes for Disney. Why wouldn't the same thing apply to our eye care practice? And as it turns out, it most certainly does apply. It's essentially functionally identical. It's just we don't have Mickey Mouse running around, and we don't have we don't have a hotel or anything like that. But when people come into our eye care practice, they are greeted by somebody who is excellent at what they do. They are our technicians, our opticians, all of the team members are excellent at what they do. That's why they were hired. And what this all boils down to, Douglas, is that what we weren't doing, we weren't hiring based on strengths and talents. Now we are. It is all the difference in the world. Now, we are also not looking for folks with experience. That's another very different part of our process. We're not hiring licensed people for the most part. There's some exceptions to that, but we're not hiring doctors or CEOs or folks like that. We are focusing on more entry-level positions, managerial positions, things like that. And by doing that, we can bring people in based solely on their strengths and talents. And so let's say a position is asking them to be amazing at a couple things in order to be successful. Well, Douglas, what if their resume says they're amazing at it, but in reality, they're not at all?
How do you determine that? Many people now feel resumes are not worth the paper they're not printed on.
They're not even worth the digital paper they aren't printed on. I mean, the PDFs just aren't worth it. Yeah, I agree with that. How do we determine that? How do we determine that? Our process utilizes something called assessments. There's an entire area of people, if you will, called psychometrics, and it's measuring what people are naturally good at. Um, we use that. We use some other stuff as well, including a mindset assessment to determine if they have the type of mindset that they want to serve. That's critical. If you want to serve people, terrific. If you don't want to serve people, you can't be in healthcare, just like you can't be in Disney and you can't be in the Four Seasons. Um, we also measure their speed of learning. And that's a terrific way for determining how fast they're going to be able to pick up the job that you're asking them to do. Because remember, they're not coming in with experience. So when they have a very specific speed of learning, they can learn anything in your office super quick. It's like lickety split. And the best part is you don't have to tell them on Tuesday, which I already told them on Monday, because they're retaining that information. And that's really why I think that um, this approach is so superior to the standard resume approach. It just gets a completely different plateau level of results.
Does it take much longer to find and process the hiring then?
It's the opposite. It's much faster. This is an automated, almost completely automated process. And within the Build My Team system, they what the applicants do is they'll apply for a job. Within 5 seconds, they get a text on their cell phone. Why 5 seconds? Well, because 10 seconds is too long. They've already applied for another job. It's hard to believe from an employer standpoint how fast this process is now, but it is absolutely ridiculously quick. And by doing this, we are able to get them while they still remember what job they applied for. We're able to get them while they're focused on that, and they start through our assessment process. It takes about 15 minutes if they go all the way through to passing the assessment, and that's where our software will give them a thumbs up. That's the outcome for the first stage of our process. This can be done in the middle of the night. It can be done from your cell phone when you're doing whatever you're doing. It's not limited to being in front of a computer or anything like that. And so it gives our clients a completely unfair advantage over other people who are hiring because now their hiring system replied to these people in the middle of the night. It's giving them go-aheads to move to the next level. It's showing them that this is a different process, Douglas. Like this employer, they must really care about who they're bringing on because they're being quite stringent upon with who they are moving forward in this process. It's very obvious. And then at the end, what our team does is we'll send them a video interview, and they conduct a video interview, and that's designed to make sure that it's kind of like the human element of making sure that that magic thumbs up that our software gives they meet the requirements and that they will properly represent your business. That's really what it comes down to.
When you do that video interview over Zoom or whatever it might be,
Mhm.
do you find that it uncovers things that the software missed?
Yes, it does, but not so much in a negative way. Most of it is the opposite. It's mostly very positive. So these people will go through the process, and when you look at their video interview, it's obvious this person's a winner. I mean, this is an A+ player. You want them on your team. How fast can you get them on your team? That's the kind of thing that we generally experience. Conversely, our all-time record was a woman who was doing her video interview while driving a car. And as you and I can both agree, without even discussing the subject, Douglas, that's ridiculous. So she was very gently offloaded out of our process and not moved forward.
Hopefully to the side of the road.
Oh, that was something else. Yeah. Yeah.
You are now selling this software and
Mhm.
concept, but that's really different. You trained for years to be a medical doctor, did you not?
I'm an optometrist. Yeah. So eye doctor. It is very different. And again, this never started with the goal of becoming a company, Douglas. This was designed to get me out of this absolute misery that was the hiring hamster wheel in our practice. It expanded because the I started talking to my friends about this, other small business owners, and they wanted it. So started doing it for them. And then some of their friends wanted it. Next thing you know, we decided, hey, this thing, once automated at the level that it is now, could really help a lot of people. And that's what it came down to. It's a very affordable service. It is almost all done for you, very close. And you can hire somebody through our service by with less than an hour's worth of work. That includes the initial phone call. And that's a realistic expectation as well.
Did you ever think you'd be at this point at this point in your life that you are really now into IT-ism?
Of course not. Of course not. The solution, the company only does one thing, and it does one thing over and over and over again. So it's gotten extraordinarily good at that one thing. And by by using this process, it makes the healthcare, the delivery of healthcare enjoyable. It's fun. I look forward to patient care. Um, I look forward to interacting with the team. I look forward to extraordinarily low stress or no stress days in our practice. And that is all because of the Build My Team process.
And that is it. You have applied it to a medical practice, but could it not
Mhm.
be used for virtually any small business?
Yes. And that's where we're expanding now into all kinds of different small businesses. Um, Again, the focus is on the positions, the entry level. So secretarial, clerical, billing, uh, managers, that type of thing. As I
Where a
mentioned,
business usually has the greatest amount of turnover, correct?
exactly. And on top of that, what we found is that the business owners just have no level of expertise in hiring those types of positions. They just don't know what to look for. So a lot of business owners will hire somebody bubbly, happy, personality first, but not at all based upon what their strengths and talents are. Well, Douglas, it doesn't work out. The vast majority of those hires just turn over and continue to turn over. And that starts a real um, chain reaction within the small business, how they can't keep up, how they have issue after issue. So that becomes a problem that is um, something that Build My Team simply solves.
For our audio listeners, on
Mhm.
the wall behind you, you have a saying that says something differently. Tell us about that.
Yeah, think about things differently, where the differently is upside down and backwards. And that's the approach that we're taking. We don't approach this, hiring process from a resume standpoint. We're approaching it solely from a standpoint of finding these people's natural strengths and talents, and then we reject almost everybody. The the way I like to describe this is that we're not looking for a needle in a haystack. We're looking for a needle in a huge stack of needles, but the correct needle, the right needle in a stack of needles. They almost all look identical. How do we figure out which is which? And that's the process that we've designed.
Is any part of this artificial intelligence? And if not, do you see AI becoming part of it in the future?
It's currently not, because the process has a level of automation where that's not required. In the future, absolutely. I mean, I think AI is going to permeate most IT services, most HR services, and we have artificial intelligence, if you will, because of the feedback loops we have in place. So our clients will tell us um, what the positives are about the person. Let's say somebody leaves. Here's what we liked about the previous person in the role. Here's what we would like to improve, and that gets fed into our team members when they're looking for these candidates. So we have an incredibly effective feedback loop that will just continuously allow us to improve and improve.
Where can our listeners and viewers get more information? You have a website, I know.
Oh, we sure do. It's simple, buildmyteam.com. You can take a look at the website. If you are interested in us helping you, schedule a consultation. It's free, of course. And one of our team members will find out more about your small business, find out the areas that you're looking to hire for, help you streamline that concept, and then we all decide if we move forward.
It's amazing how many people in the medical profession at your level retire as soon as they can get out of it. What? And I think they complain primarily about regulations and the ubiquitous insurance company
Of
boogeyman.
course.
Where do you stand with all of that, and how could this possibly be changed to improve
Yeah.
that life?
Oh boy, what a fascinating question. I've never been asked that before. The old, prior to build my team, it was horrible. And the thing you got to understand, Douglas, like docs have debt. They've got lease requirements. We've got all kinds of handcuffs on us to the practice. You can't leave even if you wanted to. For most docs, it's some level of financial ruin to do that. Now, that or we have outstanding team members who make it fun to go to work. Now, the concept of retirement and the proverbial race to get out, I haven't thought about that at all. That's not something that really crosses my mind because it's enjoyable. Once you get to a position where you can help people and it's incredibly enjoyable, you got to scratch your head and say, why would a person want to leave that? And things like, that billing side of things, every doctor can't stand insurance. I don't know one that does. Well, we have insurance specialists on the team who that's what they do all day long, and they're outstanding at it, and they get paid extremely well because they are outstanding at it. And on the doc side, we don't have much to do with that whatsoever. The team does. Now, because it's not my strength and talent, it's neither my strength nor my talent to have anything to do with insurance companies. From a clinical standpoint, it's helping patients in the exam room. That's what doctors are good at, obviously. But the interaction with insurance companies, it's a completely different set of strengths to do that properly. And the ones that are having those issues, I would suggest that maybe perhaps they take a look at bringing people on so that they don't have to have anything to do with that.
First, however, they've got to find them.
Well, that's what we do. Yeah.
What would you like to add we have not talked about? Could be anything.
I think the biggest difference for our clients before and after is stress. It is like where to go. It used to be so difficult, especially with hiring. Oh my goodness. Oh, somebody comes in. They're absolutely fantastic. You did everything right in the interviews. You looked at all those resumes, one thing after another. And then 3, 4 weeks later, 2 weeks later, they just up and leave. It's a gut punch to a practice owner. And then you do this over and over, and now all of a sudden you lose hope. And that's the thing I would like to get across, Doug. When you lose hope as a small business owner or healthcare, whatever it doesn't matter if you're a doctor or a small business owner. Um, it just changes you in every way. It changes your interaction with your family. You're not going home happy to see your kids. You're not happy at all. And I went through all of that. It's awful. It changes you in ways that are hard to predict and none for the positive. I don't have to go through that anymore. And I know I'm wearing two hats with this discussion. I'm just authentically describing to you how that experience changed my average workday. And I shouldn't say that, my average day period, like average day at home, average workday.
You've been listening to the Biz News Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. That's BIZGNUS.com. Thanks for listening.